What's going on, everybody? Today is December the 13th, 2025, and I am just about to start tearing down my Nova. If you guys have been following this build, then you probably know that the car is basically just completely in bare steel. You've got, you know, the frame and inner fenders and everything in the world. It's all bare steel. It's rusting. The entire body of the car is not done, so the entire car has to be completely disassembled in order for me to go ahead and start doing all of that stuff. Now, the kicker to this is I've been doing some destructive brake testing on the car, trying to get the brakes, you know, working just right. And so I've been doing these 60 to 0 stops in this thing and making adjustments in the brake, trying to figure out, you know, how to get the brakes in this thing working as good as they possibly can. And kind of unfortunately in doing so, I have destroyed the tires on my car. You can't tell it, but there's actually quite a lot of tread left on those tires, but they're pretty much shaped like stop signs at this point. When you drive the thing down the road, it's just going, it's terrible. And so there's no doubt when I go to do final assembly on this car in 1 to 2 years from now, I'm gonna have to go ahead and put new tires on it. These tires are just absolutely shot. And I do not believe in just throwing away perfectly good tires that have lots of tread life left on them. So you might notice that my brother and I are here at a industrial park with a nice big parking lot. So you know what? It's a good opportunity to do some donuts. That's what we're here to do, ladies. Here we go. Well, that was fun as hell. I have officially sent those back tires to Satan where they belong. It's time to go tear down. You know what? Before I fast forward and start the teardown process on the Nova and show you that thing in a million pieces back on the rotisserie, check out the front chin spoiler that I made for that thing. I'm super happy with how it came out. Let me turn the camera around. I'll show it to you before I tear it down. So check it out. I built this chin splitter out of 1/8 inch thick aluminum in 4 different sections. And so the sections you see right here on the end, right here, and then over here and so on, are all 4 different pieces that I ultimately had to TIG together. I also decided to go ahead and make these little custom brackets that you see right here to just try and do something a little different than what everybody else does on these things. And the reason that I did that is because I have a very similar bracket holding up my spoiler in the back of the car back here. Now, the one in the front looks like the exact same thing, but the truth is it's a little bit different in diameter as well as angle. And so that was really just me trying to tie, you know, the front of the car into the back of the car so that everything had like a nice congruent, you know, rolling kind of finish to it. I also decided to do a tow hook here. I'm not sure why, but I just thought that was cool, so I did that. This was a pretty difficult little thing to make right here because in order to be able to put a bend in 1/8 inch material, I actually had to back cut the back side about halfway through the material with a cutting wheel so that I could bend it in my little sheet metal brake. And at the end of the day, I was able to, you know, get the bend to work, and then I had to weld that seam up all the way across there on the back side. But at the end of the day, I'm really happy with how it came out. I am going to use some Alvin lab metal, which is kind of like a powder coatable body filler, you know, to just kind of straighten everything out, and then I'll powder coat it gloss black. But at the end of the day, I feel like I really, you know, gave it that race car vibe, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. I should also mention that taking this car apart over Christmas break is not near as easy as just taking the car apart, because I've got so much work to do along the way in the process. And I'll give you a good example of that. For instance, if you wanted to pull off your clutch master cylinder right here, you couldn't actually do it. There's not enough space right there for me to even get my finger in between that fitting and the inner fender. So I'm actually going to have to remove this Detroit Speed inner fender out of the car and then create an inset area into it, so that in the future, if I wanted to pull that off and pull it forward, I would have a little bit of extra room in here to do so. And those types of examples are all over the place. I've got another inset that I've got to create down in there for my radiator hose. I've got situations over here, you know, where you can see that my holes, I had to kind of open up the holes there for the fenders. So I've got to come in here and I've got to weld that up and then, you know, make it into a nice circular hole. And I've got a long list, just a laundry list of things that have to be done as the car is taken apart to make sure that everything goes back together, you know, in the final stage really, really nicely. So it's not going to be just as easy as taking the whole car apart. I also was not crazy about the idea of sending my car to the body shop with a set of $9,000 Forge Line wheels on the car. And so I went ahead and spent the money and got myself a set of Guni wheels. More coming up in a later video about those and some of their other products. We're going to be carrying those things, and they're pretty cool. I also wish that you guys could have seen a time-lapsed video of me welding and grinding these 1/4-inch round drip moldings that I did here with the car. I basically shaved the drip rails and I put in a 1/4-inch piece of round rod. And in order to get this edge just as nice as I absolutely could, I had to go back and forth with a file over and over and over again to create that nice contour. And I just can't even begin to tell you how many hours I have standing here with a file to get it as good as it is, which is still not great. But I mean, we're talking about the better portion of the entire weekend. It was terrible. All right, so that's basically what you got going into the teardown. I've got a lot of stuff that I've got to address as I tear the car down. Now it's time to fast forward and have a look at this baby on the rotisserie. One other thing I want to do is give props where props are due on this build right before I tear the car down. I've done business with a lot of guys that have supplied parts for this thing, and a good many of them have really gone the extra mile in terms of technical support and helping out an amateur builder like myself, you know, during the process. And I just want to roll through the car and show you those people's parts. I'll put a link down below in their description and just very briefly tell you why those guys are so great. Big thanks to Matt over at Anvil Auto, who makes the carbon fiber deck lid and carbon fiber hood for this car. They make some really cool stuff. Very nice people, very helpful. That's Anvil Auto. You can't really see it, but I do have Fessler front and rear flush mount glass for this car. That's it right there. I've got an entire video that talks about how you go about, or I went about, getting that flush mount glass into this car. The folks over at Fessler were very nice, very helpful. I'll put a link, of course, down below. Would like to say thanks to Tom over at Classic Keyless. He makes the keyless entry for this car, and as a result, I've got myself a trunk popper switch right here, and then I can operate my door locks using one of these rocker switches. Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go. There we go. So this is pretty cool in that my power windows right here from New Relics, a guy named Dusty runs New Relics, makes a really nice power window setup. You can see right there. And Tom over at Classic Keyless actually hooked me up so that at the end of the day, I could use switches that were the same for my power windows as for my power door locks, and I thought that that was pretty cool. So thanks to Tom at Classic Keyless and to Dusty at New Relics on the power windows. I don't recall the gentleman's name that helped me out over at Flaming River, but super helpful folks. I did, whoops, I did do a removable steering wheel on this car, and they've got some really, really nice steering components. You can see kind of down in there, my universal joints and all of that stuff. You can sort of see them. But anyways, did Flaming River on this car, and they really just deserve the plug because those guys were so helpful anytime that I had questions. The engine harness on this car is from the folks over at BP Auto. A gentleman named Bill runs that company. Bill is extremely knowledgeable and very, very happy to help. He made a really nice engine harness for this car that just fits the motor really well. You specify what all the connectors are going to be in advance, and you know, anything that you need, those guys can make happen. Really happy with the folks over at BP Auto. I also got excellent technical service from the folks over at Vintage Air. You can see my compressor right there. You know, every time that I had questions about what I needed to do with that thing, they were just fantastic at answering my questions and getting back to me quickly. There's the under dash unit right there. You can see that I got some additional vents from them and mounted them into the dash. All of that is Vintage Air. Super good people over there. I want to say thanks to them for sure. One of my favorite accessories on this car is the Dakota digital gauges. Their gauges are just absolutely fantastic. Everything is configurable in your phone where you can set up, you know, when the alerts come on and off. You can change the color of everything. Even the color of the needles you can change from your telephone. That's a Dakota digital dash. They actually sell two different dashes for this car. I got the upgraded, the more expensive dash because it had a light that came on if you ever lost oil pressure, and I really wanted that feature considering the giant expensive motor in this thing. Dakota digital gauges, those folks are awesome. Also would like to say thanks to the folks at Willwood. You can see I've got Willwood pedals in this car. I've also got Willwood clutch master cylinder and brake master cylinder. Got several videos on my channel about their stuff. I did a great big 14-inch rotor in the front of this car with a 6-piston caliper. You can see them up in there. Really awesome stuff, and really great technical support, man. They always get right back to you. Their technical staff is just, you know, man, I can't say enough about them. Thanks to the guys at Willwood. For suspension on this car, big shout out and thanks goes to Mike Ruth over at Heights. They make the independent rear suspension for this thing. I've got an entire review video about that. You can check that out online if you want to. Lots and lots of emails and questions answered over a long time by Mike Ruth. Bless his heart for putting up with so many questions. Also want to say thanks to the folks at Detroit Speed. I got their independent front suspension system with their inner fenders, and those guys as well have been just absolutely fantastic about answering all of my stupid questions. I've got an entire review video on the Detroit Speed independent front suspension system, so a big thanks to those guys as well. I would like to say no thanks at all to the folks at QuickTime Performance. I believe it's QTP that make these exhaust dumps. They advertise their system as completely stainless steel, but I discovered that is not the case. And then when you ask them about it, they won't reply to your emails. So no thanks to those guys whatsoever. I am very appreciative of the folks over at Ultimate Headers. They make the stainless steel headers that go on this car. I did some development work with those guys, and we shipped the headers kind of back and forth a couple of times until we got them to where they fit just right. They were really just absolutely excellent. They would send over drawings and show, you know, all of the dimensions of everything. Man, they were just awesome. When you're building a car like this, ergonomics are everything, and I ultimately got the shifter exactly where I wanted it, so I wasn't reaching far forward and my elbow wasn't hitting like the back of the seat or anything by putting a Sicky shifter in the car. Those folks were really helpful, nice people to work with, and I just really want to say thanks to the folks at Sicky. About halfway through my teardown, I just realized that I left someone out and forgot to say thanks to them. That is going to be Joe over at Auto Plum. He supplied me with so many of the braided AN fittings for this thing. That guy is just super knowledgeable. Of course, there'll be a link down below to his website. Joe is just, he's an absolute wealth of information when you're trying to make things connect with braided AN fittings, and working on this radiator here just kind of reminded me of that. Got to say thanks to Joe. Okay, little midway update here on tearing the car apart. It's about day 5, and you can see here that I'm in the process of separating the LS3 from the car. I decided that the easiest way to do this was just to pick the car up right off of the front clip and just let the motor and the clip remain together. I put some redline dollies underneath it with some jacks. Those things came in really, really handy. I've already pulled the independent rear suspension system out of the car. I have created 2 piles of parts, which are going to be flat black and gloss black, and everything is coming along, you know, really well. Next up, I guess, is going to be the interior, everything in the dash and all of that. So coming along pretty good. It is so handy to be able to separate the engine and transmission this way right here. I mean, this is just the best. Okay, here we are. Car is completely torn to pieces. And I gotta say, this turned out to be just a massively larger job than I ever dreamed it was gonna be. Let me ask you something. How long do you think it would take to go from an actual driving car, like you can see in these shots right here, you know, just a completely built car, to the shell that you see right here? How many days of work do you think that is? Just kind of guess that in your mind, if you will. And I'll tell you, okay, so we took a 5-day weekend for Christmas and a 5-day weekend for New Year's. Today is Sunday on the 5-day weekend in New Year's, and I finished yesterday. It took 9 days to get this thing completely taken apart. 9 days. I just absolutely could not believe how much time it took to tear this thing down. Now, I will say that, you know, that's in part because the manner that I did the teardown, I didn't just take everything apart. I documented everything very carefully. So like if you were to have a look at the chassis harness there or the engine harness there, you know, you might notice that I've put little tags on everything that tell you, you know, what it goes to. That right there goes to the radio. And so sit there and carefully documenting everything as I took the car apart really made it take a lot more time, but I have absolutely no doubt that all of that work is going to pay dividends later when I'm doing the reassembly of the car. You know, one of the best things that I did was got myself 3 storage racks, and I very, very carefully, you know, put everything on those racks to be able to, you know, use all of my space just as efficiently as I possibly could with all of my parts. And you can see I have lots and lots of parts just freaking everywhere. But everything came apart just fine, and I'm excited to start the next portion of the build, which is, you know, doing things that I couldn't previously do. And I'll give you an example of that. You'll notice that I've put kind of a little Sharpie mark right there. This area of the firewall gets too close to the header bolt right here at the back of the motor, and it's really difficult to get to that header bolt. So I'm actually talking about that header bolt right there. Really difficult to access that. So I'm going to do a little trimming and notch a little area right here and create some space in the firewall. So that's the type of thing that you can't do with the motor in the car. And I have lots of things like that that need to be done with the car. Let me go ahead and get the rotisserie out of the shed, and we'll get this thing flipped over and I'll show you underneath. Alrighty, I have got the car onto the RTS 3000 rotisserie. You can see my custom chassis that I built for the car out of 2-inch by 3-inch tubing. Never built a chassis before, but decided I was capable of it. I don't know. What do you think? How did it turn out? How did I do? What do you think? This was the very first car that I have ever built. Never made wheel tubs before. Never built a chassis or seat mounts, cooler mounts. Never built a transmission tunnel, never built any of this crap, but I built it all. And that's the finished product on the RTS 3000 rotisserie. Anybody that does not know, I sell those rotisseries for a living. I'll put a link down below in the description to that on our website. Just a shameless plug there for Redline. But man, oh man, there the car is on the rotisserie, ready for all of the work to be done. I'm really excited about, you know, being able to sandblast everything and come in here and put, you know, fresh epoxy in the trunk and coat everything, put lizard skin inside the car and just, you know, start to make the thing look like an actual new car. To me, that's just super exciting. And been looking forward to this, you know, turning the page chapter here of the build for quite some time now. So I'll occasionally post some updates if you guys want to follow along on the build. Click subscribe if you want to make sure that you catch the rest of my videos here building the car. Appreciate you guys following along. Y'all take care.